Okay, hello. Today is the 2nd of February, 2023, and we'll talk about Alberto Sartoris, born in 1901 and he died at 97 in 1988. 1998. So let's read a little bit about him. Alberto Sartoris, an Italian architect. Early in his career, he was associated with Futurism, and in 1928 was a founder member of SIAM, Congrès International d'Architecture Moderne. In the late 1920s, he became closely involved with Italian rationalism and built numerous structures, mostly in Switzerland. In 1938, so when he was 37, he was associated with Giuseppe Terrani in the design of a satellite city at Rebbio in Como, 1938-1939. Among his works, the Morer Pasteur House in Saillon-Valais earned acclaim for its international style aesthetic. A devotee of functionalism, he published Gli elementi dell'architettura funzionale, 1932, 1936, and 1941, and Encyclopédie de l'architecture nouvelle, 1948-1954. So he had a varied activity, and unfortunately this is written in French, but I can translate. So architect, historian, and promoter, artistic promoter. This architect, I guess he was born in Turin, in Torino, made his studies of architecture in Geneva, in Switzerland. Visionary, el a făcut parte din futurismul italian. Sorry, I should talk in English. I'm making the presentation in English. I started to talk in Romanian. Sorry. The Italian futurism, which valued progress, the machine, speed, and then he developed into what was to be called the rationalism of architecture. More well known, though, for his axonometries and serigraphies than by his built work. Sometimes considered too modern. The talented architect from Turin built several things in the region Lemanic. I don't know what this is. A motel in Cully, actual Hotel Lavaux, an atelier de Grandia Corso. This seems to be in France, or maybe still in Switzerland, which became a museum. The House of the People in Vevey, actual the present Rex Cinema. Paper architecture. Just a second, I have to remove this maddening tab, which doesn't allow me to read the text. The paper architecture was the phrase Alberto Sartoris used to designate his unbuilt projects. Not built in stone, but made transcendent in graphic mode. Indeed, his axonometric projections become works of art where the borders between painting and architecture are blurred. Sartoris has, however, several completed projects in his portfolio, notably in the Lake Geneva region, the Motel de Blonesse at Cully, now called Hotel Lavaux, and we are going to see these works, and the Circle de l'Hermitage at Lepes, better known as Old Mill. After many excesses involving mock beams, rough plastering, and wrought iron, the circle has undergone a rehabilitation to restore it to the design created by Sartoris in 1935. We can also point to the Villa de Grandi at Corso, the church at Lortier, Val de Bagne, which was the first modern church built in an Alpine setting, and the Maison du Peuple, the House of the People at Vevey, the building houses now Cinema Rex. Let's move forward if we can, if Zoom is allow me to. So, des écrits de saura retenir deux aphorismes. So, two aphorisms by Sartoris. La couleur est la quatrième dimension de l'architecture. Color is the fourth dimension of architecture. That's what Sartori said. Color is the fourth dimension of architecture. And I would say that yes, color is important and shouldn't be neglected. Now, if it is the fourth dimension of architecture or not, that we could debate, but it is important. And then he said, la nature a quatre saisons. L'architecture n'en a que deux, l'ombre et la lumière. Nature has four seasons. Architecture has only two, the shadow and light. Interesting thought. So nature has four seasons. Well, in Bucharest, almost had this year 3 seasons without winter, like last year and the previous year. But for the past few days, it even snowed a little bit, and I'm happy it did. Okay, so architecture, in opposition to nature, which has 4 seasons, architecture has only 2, he thought, the shadow and light. And some axonometric drawings, indeed colorful, abstract, blurring the frontier between art or painting, between painting and architecture. But these axonometries by Sartoris occupy an important position in the history of modern architecture, so much so that this very axonometry, as I said, as you can see, it's on the cover of the famous book by Kenneth Frampton, Critical History of Modern Architecture. And I think now he arrived at the 5th edition. This picture is with the 4th edition. At 91, he was still working on editing and updating the 4th edition into the 5th edition. Bravo to him. So a man at 91, still active, still inspired and inspiring and still lucid, working on this, because I invited him to join us on Zoom, and he kept postponing, saying that I'm working to edit the 5th edition of this book, A Critical History of Modern Architecture. And on the cover, as you can see, is this axonometric drawing of Alberto Sartoris, which represents, surprise, surprise, a church, not a hospital and not a school, as you might be tempted to think. Another axonometric, rather metaphysical, but his axonometries are very pure. And yes, you could say they are paper architecture, but the so-called paper architecture has its meaning in architecture. And maybe that's why, I mean, again, you know, Kenneth Frampton chose a paper architecture on the cover and not a built work. He did also plastic art or, you know, graphic art or painting. But we see he employed primary colors, but not only primary. We also see brown there. You know, the same drawing for a church, house. I don't know what this was supposed to be, but I still think it could be inspiring. And that's why I keep saying to the students of architecture and to the architects, if you don't have clients, if you cannot build, no one can stop you from externalizing your love of architecture and your inspiration from expressing themselves. And you can through, you know, projects, utopian or not. You can do, you can leave something behind that is not a source of you know, unhappiness or shame. An architect is blessed with this advantage in a way. You can, like a poet, you can visualize your architecture, the kind of architecture you want to build, even if it's not commissioned. But you can afterwards, you can actually search for possible clients, make the project, allow your vision to come into being. You have nothing to lose. I think it's better than to watch TV. A painting, or I don't know, a gouache, or I don't know what it is, but I think it's nice. And obviously, he had an artist in him, another architectural fantasy, some might call it. But imagine this was built, and it would be very easy to build it just as it is. I think it would be interesting and actually very feasible. This is not a building that cannot be built. Okay, maybe the steps at the bottom are a little bit high, but that could be made feasible as well. But you see, between his architectural drawings and his pictorial drawings is quite a difference. You wouldn't expect the man who did this to do this, and yet he's the same man. And obviously he had talent. That's why in that text was described like the talented man from Turin, from Torino, from Turin. I think he had talent as a painter as well. I truly encourage any student of architecture who has some liking for graphic art and painting to paint, to draw, to buy some cheap colors. They are not so expensive, and just you can paint even without a brush. You can paint with your finger. You need a little bit of humidity or water, and you use some watercolors and some wrinkled paper, old paper, newspaper, you name it, and express yourself, express your emotions, and you'll feel better. I think they are nice works. Alberto Sartoris. I am sure he didn't know, he didn't imagine that one day a critic of the stature of Kenneth Frampton would choose one of his isometric representations for the cover of his famous book. But it happened. You see, it happened. Sorry about the resolution here. I guess I was more seduced by his artworks. This was the man. In his older age, he lived for a long time, as architects often do. Another painting, another artwork, another isometric, axonometric drawing, another one here. You say, how come that the foundation is yellow? The base of, well, it's an abstract image. We don't have to take it literally. Hotel Lavo, now a built work. We don't have too many. This is a short presentation, and I should have developed it, but this is what I have. Hotel Lavo. Sorry about this image. It's a hotel which was refurbished. We will see also the building from the outside. So we are talking about Switzerland here, and obviously they had the money to refurbish it beautifully, and it's I almost felt like saying excessively clean. But let's see if I want to see. Yeah, that this is the building built by Alberto Sartoris and refurbished probably recently. It looks it looks brand new. It's not bad, but it's an architecture that indeed points towards functionalism and international style. Um, but it has a level of purity, just like his axonometries. Hotel Lavaux. Luxe, calme et volupté, as Charles Baudelaire would say. Luxury, calmness, and voluptuousness. Some people know how to live. If you have the money, you can enjoy the view of the clouds and the mountains and the whiteness of the room and so on. And then watch some crime story on HBO or Netflix. You watch the sunset while other people go to work. Yeah, even when the sun sets, some people go to work for the night shift. The unlucky ones who cannot rent a room in Hotel Lavaux by Alberto Sartoris to contemplate the lake and the sunset. What can we say? Life is unfair. And a nice conference room, even with bottles of mineral water on the table, waiting for the scholars or businessmen, probably businessmen. We cannot blame Alberto Sartoris for these comments. No, maybe during his lifetime when he built it, it looked a little bit different. Now this is the, the refurbished building. Unbelievably white and clean and, Hotel Lavaux. I can't read the text, it's written too small, but I do see some bottles of wine, I think, on the picture on the right, and the glasses are in the picture above. Alberto Sartoris. But you see, Kenneth Frampton didn't choose one of his buildings for the cover, but a drawing, an abstract drawing. And I don't think without some kind of a hidden thought, because that drawing, which probably most people would think would represent a hospital or a school, it actually represents a church. Very interestingly, if a church arrived to this kind of image, arrived to be represented in this way. Old mill, vieux moulin, old mill in French is vieux moulin. Now, I don't know exactly what he did here. It was an old mill, and he changed something where you see that room in the corner under the cornice. We'll see pictures from the inside as well. There are some interesting things going on here. A little bit hard to tell what's happening, but there are some complexities here and almost a certain architectural viscerality. By the way, I plan to make a presentation on visceral architecture because I think we need more viscerality in architecture. How would a visceral architecture be? Kind of in this spirit, a little bit dark and contorted and problematic, kind of like the intestines inside, the physiology, the hidden physiology of our own body or any body for that matter. But through physiology, you could arrive actually to emotions, to the soul. Because I think when we make, like in Hotel Lavaux, all those white walls, didn't say anything about the, maybe the tumultuousness or the drama or the melancholia, or I don't know what, in the souls of those, temporarily living in those white, splendid, pristine interiors. Here we see the violence of yellow. You probably know that yellow is the most assertive color. That's why at intersections, yellow usually represents attention. And it's a color that agitates, that attracts attention, and it's an assertive color, yellow. I read that it's the most assertive. Now maybe there are others, like a certain kind of orange, But yellow, yes, is quite assertive. Now this section seems to be done, not by Sartoris, but who knows by whom? Maybe for a publication or by a student, or I don't even know what it said, that section. But this is the old mill, the old building, and inside we had the modernity of what we see here. And I like this, the dissonance between the outside and the inside. The clashing between the old and the new, because you wouldn't expect inside this building to have this. Maybe this you would, because you saw the windows in the corner from outside. There is a darkness here in the room that makes me think of a mad alchemist or something. Someone here, he is the architect, a handsome Italian man, like most Italian men from Turin or some other place. This is another villa he did. This one is not bad either. By the way, I had this thought today because I have some beautiful old prints which I bought in a flea market in Vienna with €5 and with emblems. And I thought, what if you make the elevation of a building, the facade? Let's say this facade here, an emblem like it was done in the heraldic times, or like in heraldry, or like in medieval times, or like in the 19th century. Just a cryptical, symbolic, metaphorical, allegorical image with a very rich imagery, and then the house to be open on the long sides, like here. So imagine this to be like a mask, an artistic mask, an emblem. And I even thought of doing a series, maybe do some projects called emblematic buildings, employing these emblems that do inspire me through the mystery and the complexity, very highly ornamental, and to be the face towards the street. That was it. So an insufficient presentation. Sorry about it, but we thought of Alberto Sartoris today, and wherever he is, I think he is not totally displeased by us. Thank you for being here today.